Welcome to Center Ground, your home for unfiltered discussion, where we tackle today's most talked about topics, break down current events, and give our take on the internet's latest foolishness. Tune in and let's find some common ground. Let's get this party started. Welcome back to the Center Ground podcast. I am your host, Bootsy. I figured I'll try this again since I'm on vacation and I have limited equipment, but I want to continue this blind reaction just to find a video, see if I like it or it's eye-grabbing from the caption or the title, and then speak to it in real time without any scripts, without writing anything down, without any formal thought process, just listening to what's being said in real time and just reacting. So I found another video with Ask a Brother podcast with Jeff St. James. That's such a regal name, by the way, but it's called Black Women Were Lied To and Still Don't Realize It, which it brings me kind of back to my video from yesterday where I was speaking on how there was a black lady who believed that majority black men are just terrible fathers. And it's like, yeah, she was sold that idea. That didn't just come out of nowhere. So I do think that black women in general are lied to a lot. I think people in general lie to us a lot to get us to do what they want us to do, to sell us things, to control us. So I'm curious to hear what his point of view is.
So my view is, as bad as it is, no one who doesn't value men's views or perspectives is serious about change.
Exactly.
Plain and simple. That whole long soliloquy. If you don't value and care about black men and what black men have to say, I'm not saying every single black man is a leader. I'm not saying every black man needs to be behind a microphone. There's a whole lot of podcasts that need to close down. I get that. What I am saying is
I agree, because some of these podcasts just sell fluff and sell stupidity. And that's why, some of them don't do so well long term. A lot of, tonight's conversation, I think, sold a lot of fluff, sold a lot of nonsense. There was always like one or two people who actually had common sense, and then the rest of them were just saying things to make people laugh or to be funny, or I don't know what they were trying to do, but it wasn't productive. And I agree with him. Like, if you are starting the conversation by saying you don't care what anyone else has to say, you're not really trying to fix or change anything. You're just trying to spew your views and tell the world what they should be doing in regards to how you feel, what you believe, what you think.
The non-black Marxist feminist whose agenda it was to redefine what family means, to redefine who has authority in our homes, and reshift who has the most influence in our community. That same group, when this most recent election happened and DEI came and went, they still checking on y'all? Or was y'all left out to dry? All them corporations.
They was left out to dry. And that's the problem with listening to, especially governments and corporations, because they'll tell you exactly what you want to hear. They have years on top of years of experience manipulating people. And somehow you think they won't manipulate you. But okay. But what he's saying is, during the Biden administration, when they had DEI initiatives and everybody was talking about coming as you are and being equal and no matter what proclivity you have and blah, 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 everybody bought it hook, line, and sinker because it's something that made people feel good, right? But the minute, and everybody was like, oh, these corporations love us and they really believe in us and cherish us. And I never understood that mentality, because how could a corporation love you? A corporation is not a person. It's a group of people, and people lie all the time. They manipulate all the time. Corporations' job is to make money, not to make you feel good, right? But to flip it, to turn it on its head, right? The minute Trump administration came in, they gutted DEI. But look how quick these corporations, when they started losing money, changed their tune. Because that's really what it's about. They don't care about you. They care about your money. They don't even sometimes care about your money. They care about government money, because government money is sometimes more than consumer money. And some of these companies rely on government money. As much as they love telling you to pick yourself up by your bootstraps, they get handouts while telling you you don't deserve a handout and you shouldn't ask for one. But I'll continue. That's another way that we're being lied to, by the way, just for the record.
How many times does somebody got to abandon you before they realize they don't really like you like that?
And that's, I swear, this is something that I speak on a lot in my smaller circles, right? A lot of our women can't tell who likes them or not. I remember there was a movie, and it's not just black women, it's a woman problem. There was a movie called He's Just Not That Into You. And I feel like my wife made me watch that at one point, and I might have saw it on TV before we were married. But the whole idea is you're chasing after something, people, organizations, things that don't actually mess with you like that. They don't bang with you like that. I can't tell you growing up, and I say this continuously, I was mainly around young women when I was growing up. Most of my friends were female, right? So I saw the people that they dated. I saw the people that they interacted with. I saw the people they ended up having children with. And some of them, I'm like, why? Because it's clear that these people don't actually like you. And what I found a lot of times is, and it seems to be a female problem more so than a black female problem, is a lot of women have no idea how to separate someone wanting to sleep with them and someone actually caring for them. And what they tend to do is they chase the ones who want to sleep with them and don't really want to keep them around for a long time. And they shun the ones who want to care for them. And then as they get older, they try to run back to those same guys who wanted to care for them. And then when those men are like, nah, I'm good, they then turn around and get mad at those men. Which is funny because women don't seem to mind allowing and caring for or even cheering for other women rejecting men, regardless of what they do. But the minute a man has a standard and says, you know what, you're not for me anymore, they call him sassy, they call him evil, they call him misogynistic. Standards will bring out the worst in some of these women, right? Which is why I constantly tell people, if you find you a good woman who knows exactly what she wants, isn't playing around, and she wants to build with you, do not let her go. But back to what he was saying, just what he was getting at is these people are being lied to and manipulated on the regular, and they literally can't see it.
You grab to hold to the government, to white feminism, to Marxism, to what the liberal colleges have to say, to what the media say. You are jumping to everything else. You're looking for all other alternatives, but the one that's sitting right across from you. And my view is, listen, I might not be the guy. Y'all may not see me in 6 months from now, for all I know. What I'm suggesting is I'm not saying there isn't a place for women in female leadership. What I am saying is if that's all we have, that's why we are where we are.
Feminism.
And you have to understand, they love saying that we're in a patriarchy. Well, people like myself and Mr. St. James, we come from a matriarchy. We come from a community ran by women. It's mainly run by our women, right? And the sad truth is, you see the product of some of these households, and it's usually not very well. It doesn't turn out very well. And even if you look at some of these households, you have single parent homes that have multiple children. You may have one child that comes out good and one child that comes out usually terrible. And when you have conversations with these people, they'll turn around and say, yeah, well, I kind of found success despite what my mother was doing and despite what my family was doing, or even sometimes in spite of, because a lot of the ways that we're raised and a lot of the things that we're taught are just not really functional. It's not really beneficial long term.
It's not only a child of white supremacy, but it is Marxist.
Yep.
It is socialist.
Yep.
And when we get down to the breaking of the nuclear family, and
before she continues, I find it amazing that, like, I'm currently in formerly Yugoslavia, currently Croatia, and they had a socialist agenda not but 30, 40 years ago. And what ended up happening is a group of people who came in and say, hey, listen, everyone's going to be equal. Now, on the surface, and this is how the manipulation usually works. On the surface, it sounds good. Imagine you're broke and you see all these rich people with all these nice things, and they say, you know what, everyone's going to have the same thing. That sounds really good. On the opposite side of the spectrum, you have people who have a lot, and then they're told you can't own your business anymore. We're going to take those from you. Of course, those people revolted. Apparently, I found out they would jail those people and end them. Like, it was that bad to push that socialist narrative. And what ended up happening was there was a breakdown, because on the surface, socialism sounds extremely great. It really does. Like, everyone gets the same things. At least the basics. I think we should have somewhat of socialism. Like, everyone should have like healthcare. Everyone should have protection from the police and things like that. But this was a socialist society, and it broke down. And I think one of the reasons it broke down is because when governments push things like socialism, it's usually not to the benefit of all people. It's to the benefit of individuals. And you learn that even within socialism, certain people benefited a lot more than others. Because in order to continue something like socialism, where you say that everyone and everything is equal, someone needs to have power to make sure that that happens. And once you have those individuals in place, you're no longer equal. You have more power. And I think this is the point that they're both are getting at, where when people push their agenda, it's usually to benefit them. That's usually how this thing works. Feminists in the modern age will tell you that they don't care about men. Men can go away. You can end men. You can abort them. You can do all these things to men, and it's not a problem. What I find most amazing is they can say this on social media and never get their accounts terminated. But if I use literal facts about what some of these people are doing online, my account will get blocked within 24 hours. Don't believe it? Look at the T app. The T app was thriving until it got hacked. Didn't get blocked, didn't get terminated. But the minute they tried to create one for the men, it was shut down in less than 24 hours.
And how that actually took place. I like to blame second wave feminism in particular.
Why
that
second
took
wave?
place in the 60s.
Okay.
Because that is when Black women really glommed on to something that white women were doing.
Okay.
Not that they hadn't connected themselves in certain ways to like the suffragettes of the first wave of feminism. Because then we had the Ida B. Wells, we had the Sojourner Truths, and I tell people she wasn't talking to Black men when she said "ain't I a woman." She was talking to Mr. Cartwright about that. And so we know that Black women were there too.
Yeah.
But in second wave feminism, the reason, in my opinion, that it took such root then and shot off into the stratosphere and got us to such an extreme point is because there were other socio-economic and political factors going on in the 60s as well. So the 60s was a time of tumult for America on many fronts. And one of the things that took place that I talk about on the channel is a biological, cultural, and environmental shift at the same time.
Yeah.
And I call that a bioculturon, which a shift like that gives birth to a new set of values that replaces an old set of values, whether that's good or bad, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And so when we as a nation, and then we as Black people, were going through this upheaval, a lot of our leaders were being unalived, jailed, brought down, the Malcolms, MLK, all of it, the Black Panthers, all of it. Then the assassination of the president. And then we had second wave feminism in the mix, right wedged in between that.
Which I find amazing, because I don't think a lot of people realize this, but feminism was financed by white men. And the working theory is they financed it because they understood the after effects of what it would do to the family. If I break up the family, right? Because here's the thing. When you have families together, families tend to be very conservative when they're together. Why? Because everything you do is for the family. And at least this is the way that the dynamic worked in the past. When the father was the one making the most money and bringing it home to the mother who tended to the household and the family, it was usually the wife's job to ensure that that money was leveraged properly to sustain the household, right? And in stark contrast, when we look at it now in an individualistic style household where there's one parent, particularly the mother controls all the finances, and then she tends to just buy and do things that she likes, right? That's pleasurable. And they knew something of this type would happen, but I think more so, I think they were more focused on splitting the family up for the sake of, if I keep the family separate, they need two different households. If they have two different households, then they both need to work. If they both need to work, then I double my workforce. If I double my workforce, my labor costs drop because now there's more competition in the labor force. And if my wages drop, I make more money. And it's funny because if you know anything about a lot of history, and Chris Tucker said it best in Rush Hour, if you really want to understand how things work, follow the rich white man.
And then we had things like our Black men being suppressed and ostracized out of the job market to
Yeah.
be made financially obsolete
Mm-hmm.
to their families
Mm-hmm.
and their children. And then Black women being presented this opportunity.
Before she goes on, because I have a feeling I know exactly what she's going to say next, but when she said that the black men were, oppressed, so to speak, with the that's not so to speak, they were oppressed and kept from making money to provide for their family. That was a strategic attack. That was warfare, right? And it was easier to occur when the world started to shift from being more industrial, hands on, fixing things, repairs, to more computerized, technology based, right? This is why it occurred around that 80s, 90s time frame. So when you had labor at the top, it was very hard to suppress male workers who had the ability to do certain things within certain industries. Like if you owned a coal mine, you can keep certain people out of those mines, right? Regardless of how dangerous it is, if the best paying jobs were in your region was coal mining, you can keep black people out of there if you feel like it. You can lower their wage if you feel like it. The same thing you can do with corporations now. Corporations still have an issue with hiring black men. They don't have an issue hiring black women though. And that's why some black women think that they're better than the black men because they make more, and you hear it all the time. But when the world needed plumbers and electricians, and it's funny because it seems like we're starting to go back to that. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to stop people from hiring a plumber when their pipes are burst in the middle of the night and it's leaking. Oftentimes they don't care if it's a black man, a white man, a Hispanic man, an illegal immigrant. They just want the problem fixed, and they'll be willing to pay, sometimes at a premium, for that person to fix that problem. Same thing with electricity. We all use electricity, right? And it's hard to stop people who have those skills from making money. There are some plumbers and electricians that make more money in a few days than doctors, lawyers, judges, politicians, and some of your favorite celebrities make in a year, right? But we don't know that because we don't have these conversations and we don't value those people anymore.
To marry the government
Yep.
instead of their men. We'll give you food stamps, this and that. And people like to dismiss that. Oh, well, it's more white people. That's because it's more white people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it. So she mentions being married to the government, and I think that's a pivotal part in history because in the 80s, they made us kick the men out of our houses. Well, not our houses. They made the women kick the men out of the houses to get public assistance. That's what she's saying, being married to, because instead of the man providing, it was the government providing. But I don't know if she's going to bring this up, but we tend to forget that's also when they started pumping drugs within our community. So not only were the men not working, you have to understand why they weren't working. Jobs weren't hiring them. They had no prospects. They had no real skill to do certain things because the world wasn't like how it is today. You can't just create a job. It wasn't that simple all the time. And then you also have to add to the fact that they pumped the drugs into our neighborhoods, right? It's ironic because I was just talking to my wife about this. I said, when people talk about the drug epidemic of the 80s, they never really bring up the fact that black people, they'll bring up the crack era and all that other stuff. And I'm from Harlem, so I know that stuff very well, right? Because you grew up around babies that were products of mothers who were on drugs. But, people never talk about how the drugs came into the environment to begin with. They just talk about people using the drugs. And I'm just going to say, black people didn't own boats and planes. So for it to reach our neighborhoods, that means someone was supplying it.
We're not talking about white people because it didn't have the effect on them that it did on us. They weren't made to divorce their men wholesale.
Yeah, and also they had the opposite, right? Which is why the Midwest looks the way that it does. It's majority them, right? It's because they actually gave them money, and they brought in a lot of people from Europe and handed them money. They weren't Americans. They said, hey, take this money and go do farm work. And now you see some of these farmers are raking it in, but they didn't have to kick out their husbands to do so.
And marry the government. The enforcement was for us. A man can't be in the house. We made movies about it, Claudine. We made all of these things was in our entertainment. It was in our backyard. It was observable reality. It was political front. It was everything. And here you have this idea funded by the CIA, mind you.
Yep.
Given to women and targeted to black women for the numbers.
Yeah.
Steinem and all of them. Yep.
Steinem and all of that. To say you don't need men. Now they didn't start with saying you don't need men.
I've been doing research. I saw the flyers. They were saying it at the beginning.
Wow.
Touche.
Only, and I want you to finish this, what you're saying. Only because when you look at those old flyers and you look back and saw that there were more women that were against
that's true.
feminism than were for it when it was first coming. There were more anti-suffragists amongst women than there were women that were for it. So there was.
Yeah, because those women weren't dumb. Like, why would you want to go fend for yourself when someone else is already doing it for you? Right? Like, we literally have people who traded in freedom for slavery, so to speak. Now they have to work. And all you do is hear them complain online about how they have to get a job, how they have to take care of themselves, right? You literally have to work to survive, both male and female at this current juncture, right? And then you work all these years to gain your freedom back. And as much as people hate the way it sounds, to me, that sounds like slavery. Indentured servitude, if you want to get real specific, not chattel.
Was a little bit of that, where even then they weren't against it just for the sake of we don't want to vote. They were against it because they saw it as anti-men and family.
It was anti-male, it was anti-family, and it was anti-women.
Yes.
This is the point that that I have been talking to the women about. Feminism is not just anti-male; it is anti-woman.
Yes.
I'm not going to get into the whole diatribe of that because I've done complete shows on that. But to your point, there was a bit of we don't need men. I don't know that black women immediately glommed onto that part of it.
They didn't.
But we eventually went there, real kind of quick, fast, and in a hurry, because the main component of that was making our men financially obsolete from us, jailing them, incarcerating them, and just generally systematically suppressing them.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying a little bit earlier. Yeah, you take away the money from a man, you take away his ability to provide, you kind of get rid of his self-worth. They've been doing that psychological warfare for a very long time. That's exactly how they got slaves to be subjected to them. That's how they got slaves to, stop fighting back. You start to break people down and you break down their humanity, and then they become shells of themselves. This is why women will say men aren't men anymore, but they won't have full understanding as to why these young boys are incapable of being the man that they think they should be. And they also are incapable of understanding that they aren't men anymore because they're being raised by women.
I ran across a quote from Fannie Lou Hamer, and she was like, I don't need to be liberated from my man.
A woman.
And he's 6'4" and he's 250 pounds and he protect us and he take care. I don't need to be liberated from mine.
I've seen women who are in relationships with good men and they still don't think it's enough. And people don't understand where this mentality comes from. It's a collection of a bunch of things that are destroying us slowly.
You know, so
Imagine being in a loving relationship and thinking that that's not enough. And a lot of people are like this. Imagine you have someone who actually likes you, someone who actually cares for you, someone who will die for you, someone who will live for you, because that's important as well. And you don't think that that's enough. But you also don't think that you're the problem. You think that everyone else is the problem. You think that your spouse is the problem because they're not fulfilling your desires, not understanding that your desires are insatiable.
to have a voice like that say, no,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going with that. Liberate us from what to what?
Mm-hmm.
Take us from what?
God, I'm gonna try to stop stopping it, but that's always been my argument. Whenever you hear about liberation, and you tend to hear about it in regards to the sexual liberation, you hear people, women saying things like, "Oh, we're being liberated." But when you start asking them, what exactly are you being liberated to do? The room tends to go very silent because they don't think that far. They think about their pleasures. They think about what they can do, how fun it is. They don't think about what happens when you wake up in the morning and things start to burn and itch. They don't think that far. They don't think, okay, I'm doing so unprotected because I'm liberated. Well, what happens when a baby is born and I done slept with so many people, I don't know exactly who the father is. They don't think about that. They also don't think about, okay, I'm liberated and I'm sleeping around and it's fun, hookup culture. Okay, but that man never wanted a child with me because he doesn't really know me that well and we were just a fling. But then it's his fault, right? People don't think far enough, and that's a problem.
What to what? And I'm gonna try to wrap it up
Mm-hmm.
because this is such a deep topic. It's got so many nuances and layers that we can talk about, but we only got a small amount of time to talk about it.
Yep.
When we talk about it destroying the Black family, when you tell women that in essence they don't have to be women anymore,
Yeah.
that not only do they not have to be women anymore, that it is of low quality and low status wifehood and motherhood and being the helpmeet to your husband and being of service in your families. You know, we've gotten to a point where we ridicule Big Mama.
Yeah, because we are raising selfish people and we live in a country of selfishness, right? Considering that I'm in a country currently where they went through socialism and it didn't work out and they people had to figure out how to get back to something that works, you start to see how nice certain people are. I find it very strange that as a big, tall, 6'2" black man who has like stature, I'm like 270 pounds, right? People here don't pay me any mind. It's very strange. But you get to understand that, and people are very helpful here. Like, I remember my daughter kicked off her sandals, the little baby, and somebody chased me down to get me the sandals back. And I was ignoring them because I heard the yelling. But I'm from New York, so you hear people yelling, you kind of just don't pay it any mind. They chased me down to hand me the sandals. There's a level of niceness that's in other parts of the world that's not in America anymore. And I think that's because we're so fixated on making money, so fixated on commercialism, so fixated on our ways of doing things and the way that we're, taught how to make money and what to do. We're very selfish in nature. We don't do things that are just nice anymore. You don't have people who tend to your garden or babysit your kids anymore. They want $1,000 for everything. And it's like, come on now. Like, you did this much work. Why do you need that much money? But again, that's a product of the way that our finances is. It's like, we're not communists. Yeah, we're not. We're not socialists. Of course not. But the way that we handle our money and the way that we view money and the way that we continue to try to make money, I think that's what's destroying us.
Big Mama was stupid. This is why it ain't no family reunions no more. Because we had big mamas and big daddies when we was doing family reunions. And we respected them. Even though they may have had their issues or this and that, they were the glue that was holding us. No, y'all got to come over here.
That's
I'm
true.
cooking and we going to eat. And, if some members in our family fall out, then that's just what we going to do. We do to fall.
For real, because my grandmother and I guess my step grandfather, they lived right down the block from each other. It was very strange. And mind you, this is in the city, so it's not like the country. They literally lived down the block from each other, but they didn't interact. And as a kid, I never really knew why. And then when I got older, I learned why. But they kept it from us to protect us and to protect the family. That's a level of honor that does not exist anymore. The minute people have issues, they want to run to the internet and snitch and tell, like, their children aren't going to be able to see this public content 10, 15, 20 years from now. Cardi B and Offset's children are in for a world of hurt in just a few short years, just because of their childish actions.
All out. Now, this cousin don't talk to that cousin and this auntie don't talk to that uncle.
Yeah.
Everybody has their issues. I'm not saying we never had our issues, but we still had a sense of togetherness and we got to make some type of family. I find, and I wonder if you find it as well, Mr. Jeff, that not only are we dealing with feminism on its face, but it has bred this sense of individualism also.
Didn't I just say that? That's how we are now. Everyone's selfish.
Not only do I not need a man, I don't need anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sort of do everything on my own. Do you feel that feminism has bred this sense of individualism, or do you feel that those are other factors?
Which I'll let him finish it. But this it's funny because if you ever talk to people who actually make money, down to earth people who make money, they'll tell you that they didn't do it alone. They tell you that they needed help. They needed guidance. They needed mentorship. Right? This idea that I can do it all on my own, I could be bad by myself. And sometimes I think our media, even black control media, the Shonda Rhimes, the Tyler Perrys, I think they're trying to tell a story and entertain us, and people are taking it as gospel. And it's also destroying us. So on one end, we have white corporate media that manipulates us. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have black media that's also not doing us any benefit. But it's entertaining, and we love the people who make it, so we continue to support.
I definitely think it was a huge component. I do think capitalism by default
Capitalism. That's what I was trying to get at earlier. I couldn't remember what it was called.
Naturally will manifest over time with people kind of prioritizing themselves, their immediate tribe. I think capitalism by default will lead people naturally in that direction. But I agree with you 100%. Honestly, I look back and I was like, okay, so that was the Trojan horse that they snuck within the community. And then when everything was finally revealed, before we realized it, everything was destabilized. The women are hating the men can't fulfill their roles in terms of provision. The women are feeling like, well, you know what, I don't need you. I got all these other options now of how to provide for myself and my children, and these children are now mine, not yours. And now our marriage is really between me, you, and the state. But I would argue that out of all those different things that we're listing, the facet of feminism that I actually am becoming much more interested in and learning more about is the sexual liberation movement. There's a book that I've been going through, The Case Against Sexual Revolution, A New Guide to Sex in the 21st Century by Louise Perry. And she has an interesting critique of feminism and how, like you just said, it's actually been the very thing that's caused the most issues for women now today.
All right, and I'll close by saying this. I don't think it's just black women that's being lied to, although this conversation was specifically about black women. I think all of us are, right? I think all of us are. We're lied to by corporations. We're lied to by governments. We're lied to by individuals who want something out of us, even if it's just temporary. And I think this is where we as human beings got to start using our brain a little bit more, right? We need to get to a point where we understand that there will be people who try to use us. There will be people who try to manipulate us. There are systems in place to extract whatever they want from us. So with that being said, we need to learn to get the government out of our relationships. If you have issues with the person you had a child with, perhaps you shouldn't go to child support court. You guys need to work together, be mature, be adults, and figure out exactly how to make it work. Why do I say that? Because at the end of the day, the government is going to take most of that money for themselves. It's not going to go to you. It's not going to go to your children. So now you have two families that are hurting because y'all were too childish and couldn't work together, right? Stop listening to corporations. They're manipulating you. Their job is to profit, not to make you feel good. As much as they like to lie to you and tell you that you're family, you're not. It's a business. The minute your family starts to lose money, that family will drop you. It's called layoffs, right? Stop listening to these governments, officials, politicians. They lie as well. They will tell you anything and everything you need to hear. Trump is currently president, so I'll speak on Trump. He promised all these folks all these things, and now he's not doing it, and now they're mad. It's like he didn't do it the first time, dummy. Like, why would you think he's going to do it now? We're constantly being lied to, but it's on us to start to educate ourselves. And I think that's why we keep falling for it, because we're too lazy to put forth the effort. Take the time, analyze, process things, see if it makes sense, and then respond. That should be the only way we move forward. Until we meet again.
Thanks for listening to the Center Ground Podcast. We'll be back soon with some more great content. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the video. We are a new channel, and growth is essentially our main objective. So send us an email at centerground.pod@gmail.com with any ideas or clips you would like for us to review. This was definitely fun, and I'd say let's do it again. But before you go, always remember, greatness lives somewhere within you. Just make sure you're taking the time to find the key to unlock that greatness. Until we meet again, I'll see you soon.